Okay, artists, so our lesson for this week is to create a collage style work of art that's showing symbols of peace and love. And the first thing we do is we need to research. So we're going to start with a list of symbols that might reflect peace and love. So things like a heart. First place I'm checking is in with myself. What are symbols that I already know that represent peace and love? A peace sign, the peace fingers, a dove, an olive branch. The next thing I want you to do is either discuss with others or do a little research and find some other symbols of peace and love. So things throughout history or discussions with family members or friends, either on the phone or in our Google Classroom. So what are some other symbols that people know that reflect peace and love? And one that I love from history is the peace crane. And the peace crane is actually a work of origami. So what I'm doing is I'm starting to brainstorm. I'm getting ideas for how can I use these things together to create a work of art. So I'm just kind of lightly sketching. It's a rough dove. I'm just sketching to get my ideas together. And then the peace crane, which is actually a piece of origami that I know how to fold. So I'm going to think about how I might want to utilize that. And one project that I might want to do is actually sketch out all of these on a square paper and then fold it into a peace crane, which is actually something I think I will do for this sort of project. But the idea for getting started is we're looking at symbols that we already know. Maybe we're going to research using the internet. Maybe we're going to discuss things with other people and then kind of formulate a plan. So my collage style project is actually going to be on a piece of paper where I'm going to actually sketch out all of these different things, but then I'm going to fold it and turn it into something three-dimensional. So that's just an option that I'm going to take. And options that you can take are going to be, maybe this is a drawing, maybe this is a painting, maybe this is some sort of 3D thing like I'm doing. So we're using the resources that we have available to us, and those resources are going to vary from person to person. So what I want you to do is to create the best possible project that you can create with the resources and the time that you have. So just a reminder, in this class, the idea is you're building on every day. So maybe about 45 minutes, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then your art project is complete. So the first thing that you need to do is plan and start sketching out ideas like what I'm doing. So I'm thinking about how I'm going to kind of utilize the space, my composition, and to create what I want to try to create. And these are just rough sketches that I'm going to do. And then what I'm going to do ultimately is turn these rough sketches into my completed project. So I'm going to show you all of those steps along the way, and just to give you some guidance into one way to approach the project. And I think I might also... So I kind of have my ideas. And now what I'm going to do is actually get started. So I'm going to get some materials, and then I'm actually going to start sketching out things and drawing them and creating this project with you. So now that I have some of my materials, I'm going to set up my composition. So because I want to ultimately make something that I need a square piece of paper for, I'm going to start by sketching out where that square is going to be. So this is going to be my composition. You can use any size paper that you have available to you. This can be on the back of something if you're starting to run low on paper. It can be out of your sketchbook paper. So you're just really trying to use the resources that you have in mind. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the shape of the corners of the paper to start dictating how I make my hearts. So that's my symbol of love right there in the corners. And I'm going to repeat it 4 times. So essentially I'm kind of making my own origami paper because I want to do a 3D composition, but yours can just stop at the 2D drawing level. But the fun thing about art and creating projects like this is the idea is you get inspired. So originally when I started this video, I was going to do just 2D drawing, maybe add some color to it. But then when I was doing a little research and I remembered the Peace Crane, I said, you know what? No, it's going to be 3D now. So I'm starting at the sketching phase. So I'm not trying to make everything super, super perfect. That will come later. The idea now is the composition. So I'm ignoring this space because I'm going to be cutting this off, but I'm thinking about how do these look, and I'm going to spend a little more time trying to perfect the size of these. I would like the olive branches to kind of come from maybe this sort of central point and come out, but I do need to do a little research because I don't know exactly what an olive branch really looks like. So I'm going to do an image search. I'm going to try to figure that out. I want to include the peace signs, so I think I'll do that right in the middle of the hearts. So I'm just laying out where I'd like things. So this is where I want my olive branches to be. And then I'm going to make everything, after I do a little more research, I'm going to make everything look a little bit more finished. All right, so it's day 2. I have my composition pretty much laid out, and my composition was based on my brainstorming discussion sessions and just getting ideas on paper and then getting inspired. So now I'm going to turn this rough sketch into something that looks much more complete and is ready to go. I'm also going to think about the daily lesson and is there anything else I want to include? And I do actually want to include something from the daily lesson. So I'm actually going to hide words inside of the heart, and then I'm going to be adding more shading, more value, and maybe a little bit of color, so then this becomes a much more completed work of art. Okay, once you get to this point, you can be done. I'm going to show you right now two different options of completing the project. So I'm going to go over some of the choices I made and what makes this a completed project. I took that initial pencil sketch and I created a more completed drawing by outlining using a marker, and then I also used crayon to color things in. The things that really go into this that tie it to the project and make it really complete is the thought behind it. As I was coloring, I was thinking about another symbol of peace and love, and that's the rainbow. So I wanted to match the muted colors that I used here when I was coloring the olive branches, and I did, but in a much more muted way. So I didn't pick the brightest reds and oranges and blues and purples. I picked a more muted from my box. I colored lightly, and I did a rainbow in one direction this way, and then in the peace sign, the opposite direction. Things that you might notice here, as you guys are looking, it might look like some of my peace signs are upside down in relationship to the word peace. But part of the reason I did that is as I was drawing the heart, I felt like it was mimicking the bottom of that peace sign. So that was just a creative choice I made to kind of mimic that same pointed shape. Another thing I want to draw your attention to is as I was sketching, when I was overlapping the branches, it started forming what to me looked like a Celtic knot. And Celtic knots are also symbols of connectedness and peace and love. So I included that in there. What I'm going to do now is actually fold a example of this project. So I copied it on I have a printer photocopier at home, so I copied it just so I could show you guys. But this is my test model because I needed to make sure I remembered how to fold things into a paper crane. So in order for me to do this, I needed a square paper. So I'm going to be folding an example of this into a paper crane. The reason that I'm doing this, the reason that I'm showing you this is because we can think outside of the box. So just because we're home and we have limited resources, there's still things that we can do to make these projects fun and engaging. All the projects are really designed because not everybody does have color or anything other than just pencil and paper at home. So the projects are all designed so everybody can do them, but that doesn't mean we can't push ourselves to try to use those materials in a different way. So here is my paper peace crane covered in symbols of peace, but it becomes much more subtle, so it's a lot more hidden, and I actually really like how that little guy turned out. So I hope that this lesson helps you just unlock that creativity and just understand what I'm expecting from you at home, from starting from just a list of words to getting those ideas to sketching them out and then to ultimately turning them into a project that you are proud of. Together so you can kind of see. These are two different versions of the same project. And they both meet all of that criteria. They include a well thought out project that integrates in a collage style multiple symbols of peace and love. Thank you for watching. I can't wait to see your versions.